Remember this guy? This is John Howard. He left office in 2007, and he's the last Australian leader to serve an entire term without a leadership challenge or a call for an early election. That means no Prime Minister has served a full term for more than a decade. Julia Gillard toppled Kevin Rudd, who returned the favour 3 years later. He then lost the election to Tony Abbott, who lost a challenge from Malcolm Turnbull, who was then replaced by Scott Morrison. Phew! This country has seen a lot of leadership challenges in the last decade. So why do we keep changing Prime Ministers? Short answer, because we can. In Australia, unlike other countries, we don't actually vote for a Prime Minister. We vote for parties. The party which ends up with the most MPs in the House of Reps becomes the ruling party, and the leader of that ruling party then becomes Prime Minister. Whereas, say in the US, the president is voted in through the electoral college system, which is a conversation for a whole nother time, so the only way a president can be removed, other than losing the next election, is by the process of impeachment, which is the formal allegation of a crime and eventual conviction. It's a whole big process, and so far no president has actually been removed from office in this way. But in Australia, as a side effect of our system, the Prime Minister gets no special protection. Because the position is simply held by the leader of the party, if the party decides that they like someone else better, it can swap without getting the tick of approval from voters. The first of the recent batch of leadership knifings happened virtually overnight, way back in 2010, when Julia Gillard toppled Kevin Rudd in a leadership challenge.
And Mark, it was a day quite unlike any other.
Literally, Chris, no one here has seen anything like it.
And back in 2010, that was a fair call. Before this, only 2 successful challenges had been mounted in government. First in 1971 and then again in 1991.
Decided by my party in the ballot at 6:30 this afternoon.
Since 2010 though, leadership spills have been a much more common occurrence. Because each MP's term is 3 years and each senator's term is 6 years, it feels like politicians are constantly campaigning. And a really good reminder of that are the opinion polls.
Polls.
They're published around once a fortnight by different news organisations, including News Corp, Fairfax and The Guardian, and they give an indication of which party people prefer at that point in time. While there's always a margin of error with these things, they're often used for political gain.
We have lost 30 news polls in a row. It is clear that the people have made up their mind about Mr Abbott's leadership.
The problem with this, though, was that it naturally became a sort of self-made marker for his own leadership. And when Malcolm Turnbull hit 30 negative news polls, it was used against him by the people plotting his downfall.
I mean, I regret making those remarks at the time, making the remarks about 30 news polls at the time.
Factions are also much more important than they used to be. Factions are basically groupings within parties according to policy or ideology. So they might be left-leaning or right-leaning, for example.
We're not run by factions. We're not run by, well, you may dispute that.
Malcolm Turnbull was super unpopular with the powerful hard-right faction of the Liberal Party. So much so that they threw their support behind the right-leaning Peter Dutton in a leadership challenge, who ended up being unsuccessful anyway. So what's to say these shenanigans won't happen again? Just because we can constantly change Prime Ministers doesn't mean we should, right? The good news is that the parties themselves have started to change the rules to make it harder for these kinds of challenges to happen. In 2013, Kevin Rudd introduced new conditions within the Labor Party to make it tougher to change leaders. Now, if more than one candidate puts their hand up for the top job, both MPs and senators and party members elect a new leader over a month-long process. If the party wants to call a spill while in government, 60% of MPs and senators must back it, rather than the 50% it was before. The Liberal Party has also introduced new laws, although they aren't as strong. Under the changes, 2/3 of Liberal MPs and senators will have to back a spill for it to go ahead. And it only applies to Prime Ministers who've won an election. That means it doesn't apply to our current Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. If the Libs are in opposition, the rules are relaxed even more. And while these changes have made it harder for challenges to happen, it is still possible. For real change to occur, it's up to the parties themselves to unify. And whether either side of politics has learnt its lesson from these bruising battles of recent years, I guess we just have to wait and see.
And there has never been a more exciting time to be an Australian.